Hello everybody, you're very welcome today to the Women in Big Data Ireland chapter launch. I'm going to play you a quick video just to kind of describe what Women in Big Data is, and then we'll kick off with the session then.
Big data is changing the world around us. Today, much of what we do, see, touch, and experience generates data. Collecting and correlating these huge data sets helps us extract brand new, valuable insights. Big data helps us make better decisions, work more efficiently, reduce costs and risk, and predict the future. Anya uses big data to analyze traffic patterns so her city can get people in and out of concerts, games, and other events quickly and safely. Ria uses big data to track shoe style trends on social media so that manufacturers can plan ahead, saving cost and resources, reducing waste, and better meeting customer demand. Lakshmi uses big data to analyze genomics, contributing to new methods to defeat deadly diseases. Lee uses big data to keep track of whale migrations, to protect endangered species, and to help researchers learn more about these magnificent animals. And Marta uses the power of big data to rigorously analyze human rights violations around the world and to help protect the most vulnerable in areas of conflict. But, like many technical fields, big data presents a number of hurdles for women. Big data is a male-dominated area where women are a distinct minority. Too often, women are not encouraged to pursue the technical classes and degrees needed for fulfilling careers in big data. Plus, too many companies just don't get that they can be more successful and profitable when gender diversity is a priority. The Women in Big Data Forum is out to change how big data gets done and who does it. We're a collection of women working hard to address the shortage of females in the big data workforce. We work for industry leaders in big data, and our goals are to inspire, to connect, to grow, to champion the success of women in big data, and to increase women's representation in big data to at least 25% by 2020. Join us and help make a difference. Visit www.womeninbigdata.org to learn more.
So how many of you guys had heard about Women in Big Data before today? Okay, good few. And how many brave men do we have in here today? One, welcome. I think you deserve a round of applause for coming in today. It's not easy. I'll touch a bit on about the male-female thing in a while, but basically today I'm just going to introduce the chapter and talk about what our objectives are for the chapter. And then my colleague Marina then is going to give really a talk around her journey and lessons she's learned along the way to become vice president within Intel. So that's very exciting. So just to let you know about Women in Big Data. So Women in Big Data originally started in Silicon Valley, where the head of a lot of corporations are. And it started with 15 members originally in 2015, and it's grown to 3,000 members now, with over 60 companies. And it's not just companies, universities are also included in that, because a very big part of what we do is where we need the universities to help towards making the pipeline of folks that can actually apply these skills within industry. What has happened, which is a great thing, is that because it's become so popular, different satellites have been needed across the world. So Marina leads the satellite in Russia. We also have satellites in Germany and France, and now we have our satellite in Ireland. So it's become a big success. And really, like the video says, what we're trying to do is inspire, connect, grow, and champion more women in big data. So I myself am a researcher. It doesn't matter what job you do these days, it's all about data. It's all about understanding data, analysing data. and those skill sets will apply to multiple disciplinaries. And what we're trying to do is grow community around big data. So a few stats for you there. So the demand for big data talent is likely to exceed supply by 50 to 60% by 2018. You know, so that's if anybody's looking for a good career choice at the moment, big data is definitely something to consider. Companies are really struggling to find qualified employees in this and other STEM fields as well. When it comes to science, technology, engineering and maths, it's been proven that women prefer to be to follow a career path where they can make a change or be beneficial to society. So women like to see how their work is making impact, and big data is a perfect field for that. Probably a worrying statistic is only 1 in 4 science or engineer workers is female across the EU, and boys are 4 times more likely to go into STEM careers than girls. So I'm delighted to see some of our women in technology scholars here from Intel today, and we were doing some of our interviews this week for our next round of women in technology. So what we do is we sponsor these girls at undergrad level, we provide them with mentorship and financial sponsorship over the duration of their undergrad degree. And even the other day when we were doing the interviews, some really, really strong candidates, academically strong, bright women who really struggled with convincing their parents and their peers that a career in STEM was for women. And it was even frightening to hear these girls who are 17, 18 years of age still saying that they really found it a battle. They were faced with many people saying, but sure, that's for boys, why would you want to do that? So I think we have a bit of work to do, and you know, Women in Big Data is hoping, one of our aims is to try and break those barriers. So just a little bit about what we found in industry. So, you know, age 6 to 12, pretty much boys and girls are interested in science, keen interest, everything is kind of equal. 12 to 18, things start to change where girls decide, you know, oh, I don't know about this science. And there's multiple factors in this, you know, parents, teachers, environment, but we do see a drop off then where they see computer science and engineering as a good subject to follow in college. 18% of computer science grads are down. It's actually down. So this is some US data, but it's down from 37% since 1985. When you hit 22 to 23, 12% of engineers in general are employed by tech companies. And really there's a big problem then between 30 to 45 where it's a retention issue. How do we keep the women engaged? How do we keep them in the companies? So there's multiple challenges around that as people, you know, start to want to do different things, become disillusioned, maybe have families, who knows? But it's something that companies are struggling to keep the really qualified technical females in. And it's something I'm passionate about, is growing that pipeline and also retaining people in that pipeline. And then 3% of 45 to 65s are Fortune 500 CEOs. So not huge stats, right? So this is why we need programs like this to try and change that. So just a little bit about the Women in Big Data Committee. So we have an EMEA administration, and then we have our regional chapters. And the chapters around that, this side has gone a bit skewy, but we have evangelism, networking, training and mentorship. And one of the big reasons why I'm involved, and Astrid, who is the Managing Director of Intel Labs Europe, was approached to launch this chapter in Ireland. And when she asked me would I help out with it, one of the big selling points for me was the training. We need to encourage more technical training for women in technology, to be growing those skills. Technology is an area where we constantly need to be learning. And for me, I'm passionate about that, and that's what I really like about the Women in Big Data chapters and the forum itself, is they put huge emphasis on technical training. The other pieces are very, very important, but what I've found at networking events and things like that, they're great. They're really great to meet other people with the same interest, but you never get to have those in-depth technical conversations, you know, and that's what the training sessions provide. So as I said, we have some of the regional chapters. The Ireland one is launching today, so it's great to see so many people here. Astrid is going to lead that with myself. And we also have Marina's chapter is in Russia. We have an active presence in Paris, in Poland and Munich. And it's actually a male who runs the program in Munich. So just to touch on that again, this is not exclusively for women. We absolutely need male champions, especially because, you know, often the male champions are making decisions about careers. And we, you know, the part of Women in Big Data is to encourage that male participation, encourage that championship. So our sponsors, lots of people in the room today from these companies, and thank you to Databricks for hosting this today. So the program is split up into sponsors and partners, and if this is something that you think your company would like to be involved in, either as a sponsor or a partner, please come up to me afterwards and we can have a chat about that. Like I said, Women in Big Data in Action, it's not just about networking and mentorship, which is all very important, but we run a lot of events. There's a lot of training events. We try to hook in with, you know, some big data events that are already happening. There's some local smaller training sessions, but we try to tag on to where we have the biggest audiences at different events throughout the year. So over the next 6 months, you will see some of these training events in Ireland. So I'd love if people had various different ideas about what type of technical training we should be providing. We can take a lot of what has been done already and what worked and what didn't work, but I'm really open to hearing ideas about these training sessions. So womeninbigdata.org is the website. So if you want to go up there, you can see lots and lots and lots of really valuable information around big data in general. So I'd encourage you to go there. So like I said, the main ways to get in contact are Women in Big Data through LinkedIn, the Women in Big Data on Twitter. And I would encourage you, if you have, talk to me afterwards if your company feels that they would like to be involved, or talk to me personally if you'd like to be involved yourself, because we're definitely looking for more people. So what we're trying to do is to build a diversity in this. More often than not, we try to retrofit a problem. We see a problem and we try to fix it retrospectively. And what we're trying to do now is to, you know, Women in Big Data has been so successful. The actual forum has been so successful in the Bay Area because of the concentration of tech companies. We equally have that in Dublin. We have all of the European headquarters of a lot of the big companies in Ireland. So what we're trying to do is kind of tap into that. There's no reason why the Irish chapter can't be as big as the US chapter. There's no reason whatsoever. So thank you for your time. I'd love to chat to you afterwards, and I'm going to hand over to Marina now.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Thank you. Okay, can you hear me okay? Okay, welcome. Glad to see you here. Glad to see you here. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me to be on the spot. Okay, so what I want to do today is I would like to share lessons that I have learned and keep applying throughout my career at Intel. A few words about myself. I'm Vice President at Intel. I'm the General Manager of Intel Software and Services Group in Russia, and I'm also the Director of the Software Product Services team. Happily married with 3 kids, all boys. Okay, so I've got 3 grandkids, 4 years old boy, and finally we've got a girl. So she's 2 years, and her name is Maria. Other than work, I love working with my garden, training dog, and reading the books. And recently, I have started reading a lot of books in neuroscience. I had joined Intel 17 years ago, and I was the first line manager with 4 people reporting to me. And now, as the director of the software product services, I have the team of about 150 people, and as the general manager of Russia R&D, I oversee about 600 people. As the general manager of Russia R&D, my job here is to maximize Intel investment into Russia R&D, and software product services is a multifunctional multinational team which provides capabilities for software production and delivery. In other words, so when you're done with development and testing of your product, software program, it's actually a program and not a product. In order to make it a product, you need to think about distribution, delivery, installation, licensing, documentation, and all the stuff that happens at the very end. And that belongs to my team. And I have spent all of my career in software development and doing software optimization, software testing, and a lot of program management. Sorry, it's a little bit messed up. Okay. Now let me tell you a secret. With all of my experience in software development, I do not have a degree in computer science. I have a degree in mathematics. And when I was working at university, when I was working on my diploma and struggling with formulas that big, my advisor suggested, why don't you do a computer experiment? And you can imagine, back in my days, computers were just these huge mainframes hidden somewhere in the data centers. And I was just saying, excuse me, do what? I have no idea how a computer looks like. You'll figure it out. Okay, so today I would go to internet and search how to write programs and get tons of advices. But at that time, there was no internet, and even books were very difficult to find. Okay, so I have started to check around, asking friends and friends of my friends, and finally found someone who knew how to write a program. And asked this guy, just show me program. What is program? How it works? And he showed me a very simple program and showed how to run it. And I started, of course, with the help of the books and asking tons of naive questions, adding to this program, running, fixing bugs, finding bugs, adding to the program, debugging, and etc. And finally got my first working program. And I have found it so exciting, software development so exciting, that I decided to stay on that track. And this is actually what I do all the time when facing a very big unknown. Just make a very small but tangible step and then keep progressing on it. Okay, so as I said, back in my days, computing was a very special discipline to solve very special problems by specially trained people. And I think that was the time when the stereotype of a computer geek was formed. A man, very deep technically in narrow discipline with zero social skills, working days and nights, never leaving his office to interact with people. But, you know, so times have changed, right? And the world now is different, and computing touches nearly every aspect of our lives, and all these computing and connected devices, they are intended to be used by everyone. And we need input from every diverse group into how these products are being designed and built so that we get useful products. And computing today is an area where everyone can find a space where they can fulfill their dreams and learn and apply their skills. And big data specifically, so you can find so many professions which can be related to big data, starting from producing data, how do you get data, how do you collect it, to how do you organize your data in the data center and in storages, how do you transform the data, how do you process the data, how do you analyze the data, how you get an insight insights, and up to consuming the data. What useful knowledge are you getting from the data? And what's the most important? So defining the problems and asking good questions that can be solved with the help of the data. But I think so this guy, the stereotype, is still around. When I joined my manager staff several years ago, I was the only female on his staff and the only one outside of the United States. And to make the things worse, my business is a little bit different. All of my peers, they are managing product verticals, and I'm providing these horizontal services, getting their software out of the door. And the better service you do, the less people talk about you. So I truly felt myself as a complete outsider. Gender different, culture different, style different, business different, time difference, everything was different. And first few months were really, really difficult because I was just thinking, I do not belong to this team. I'm such different. I do not belong here. I'm a waste. I'm not adding value to the team. And at that time, I thought my only choices were either to become exact copy of my peers, which I didn't want to do, or leave the team. So I asked my boss, so do you want me to be like my peers or what? And he said, no, be yourself. I hired you because you were you. Okay, but that's the boss, he hired me. But I asked my peers, asked this very direct question, so what do they expect from me and what they think? And to my surprise, I discovered they actually valued my style and they valued my skills. And they told me, you are very organized, very well organized, and you keep us organized. And that's true, that's true. Yeah, but that happens to me so naturally. I would remind people about the process or the rule we have established. When there is a cross-project, cross-organizational project, I'm just the natural choice of doing and just keeping people together and keeping them on track. But because it was happening to me so naturally, I didn't think that that was a unique skill and that would be unique and valuable to people. And that was really eye-opening for me, that in order to be a valuable member of the team, I do not need to minimize the difference in a non-natural way, but I should be taking advantage of the difference and being myself. And in order to be even more valuable member of the team, I need just to be more of myself. And all of this, my thinking, I do not belong, I'm a waste, was exactly a stereotype that I have imposed on myself. And I think these stereotypes, they have very deep roots. In my childhood, when I started to show some talent in mathematics, I was lucky to have support from my dad, but I still remember him telling me that it will be very difficult for you to build a career in science and technology compared to boys. I asked why. Welcome to the male's world, he said. And probably, I don't know, so it just stayed so deeply in me that I needed to work hard, and I really, really worked hard. But I think so just many times these stereotypes, they become kind of roadblocks and lead to this unnecessary over-analyzing and thinking whether I should be like everyone else. But anyway, so this is the memory, and which I probably cannot change, but instead of trying to fix in the past, I would rather think about the future and focus on the things that I really love doing and I really do well. And this is my learning number one. Be yourself. Do not waste time analyzing, but instead focus on being and doing. Okay, now being whom and doing what. That needs exceptional clarity, but we many times have this tendency of being very indirect in expressing our career aspirations and what we really want from our career. One of the theories here is that this is the legacy of centuries when women didn't have a right to work, didn't have a right to vote, and overall were not allowed to have a voice. Once I've heard a comment about one of our female employees from her manager. She is stagnating, she doesn't want to grow. I happened to know her and I knew that was not the case, so I challenged her manager and asked him, so tell me exactly what she said, word by word. And what she actually said was, I'm not interested in promotion. That needs to be translated because it was complete misinterpretation of what she really meant. What she really meant was, I'm not putting promotion and pay raise as my #1 goal. I'm interested in having an interesting job, stretching my abilities, taking on new assignments, but I trust the system and I trust you, my dear manager, that my accomplishments will be recognized and promotion will follow. So what was happening, she was saying, is that I want a challenge in work. What manager heard was she is stagnating. Now think about how many conversations like this are happening, and if not corrected, could be just could have very devastating implications on people's career. Okay, so now what to do about this? Because if we don't speak up about our career aspirations, we don't get it. But when we are too direct and too open about our career aspirations, we many times are being perceived as intimidating, aggressive, and bossy, and do not get it either. Okay, what to do, right? So what I have found very useful, just first of all, having my own definition what growth means for me. And you also think about your definition, what professional growth means for you. And it is your own definition. There is no wrong or right answers. It is your definition what motivates and what inspires you. It could be climbing up the organizational hierarchy, could be. Or you might be interested, for example, in going deeply into a specific technical area and become a world-class expert. Or you may be thinking about just broadening your expertise and just looking into many different areas and have a broad network. Whatever path you choose, it's your definition. It's your definition. Define it for yourself. Okay, so, and once again, so I'm not an exception here. I do not know how to talk to my manager directly. I want promotion. I want that pay raise. But what I have found useful is having conversation with my manager on 3 things. Number 1, what my next professional level will look like, how the scope will look like, what level of influence I will have, how many people I influence, what will be my visibility outside or inside the company, what would be my network. All these attributes just describing how Marina looks like at the next level of her professional development. So this is number 1. Number 2, what development areas I need in order to get there. Of course, taking classes, for example, is very important, but what's the most important, what projects and assignments I can take on in order to practice and demonstrate the skills. And this is exceptionally important because if you don't have this conversation about potential projects, so you may end up with keep doing what you're doing and do it well. And number 3, what support I need from my manager. For example, some mentoring to get business acumen, securing budget to attend a training or a conference, introducing me to senior people in the company, or even having flexibility in my work to manage work and life. And these conversations, they are not one-time event in your career. So we do these conversations just periodically, just updating how I'm progressing. So what changed, what additional help, what additional help I need, and having, again, so having them regularly. And so at the end of the conversation, we together have kind of a development plan. So what's my responsibility? What's my manager's responsibility? And what are the things we both commit to? Okay, now we have this plan, but skills they need time to develop. Assignments are yet to come. And instead of just waiting until all this happens, there is one thing you can do right away. Just act and behave as if you have already achieved your next professional level. Just think about this. Okay, I've got what I wanted. Just imagine, I've got what I wanted. I've got promotion or professional certificate or next position, whatever you're dreaming about, I've got it. What will change in my behavior? What will change in my mindset? What will change in the way I interact with people? What will change in the way I make decisions? Whatever. And just start acting at this level already, now. So a few years ago, I remember I had a conversation with one of the local managers in Russia who was a little bit of complaining about opportunities to develop and grow, that, you know what, so everything is limited to things happening locally. And my advice to him was, you know, so Intel is a global company and we are living in the global world. So you need to be able to demonstrate and think globally. No, when I get this global position, then I will start thinking globally. Unfortunately, I keep hearing this very frequently when people, okay, so when they give me this leadership position, I will start demonstrating leadership skills. So unfortunately, it happens, or fortunately, it happens the other way around. So you first demonstrate that you can perform at your next level, and then you get it. And by the way, so this guy is still in the same position and still waiting. And that's my lesson number two. Do not waste time waiting, but instead focus on leading and doing. Okay, beside your manager, so who are other people who can support you? There might be people who will give you good advice, your mentors, people who will advocate for you, your sponsors, and even people who inspire you, role model you, or even people who are very difficult to deal with. They will teach you a lot when you have to manage them, especially. And of course, together, and of course, your family. And all together, they are your support team. They are the ones who believe in you, believe them, and prove they are right. Family is one of the most, if not the most important stakeholder. And similar to conversation, so where I want to be, how I want to develop, what support I need, and similar conversations. So for example, I'm having with my husband, just explaining to him, so this is my aspiration, that what I achieve, and what support I need from him. And this is very helpful, not only to align our long-term goals, joint long-term goals, but also short-term. For example, plans for the next week when I will be out of town, so when I have an emergency at work and have to stay late, so that we can agree how we handle family things. Okay. Now, looking back at my career, it was all about moving from project to project, from assignment to assignment. And many of these projects, of course, they have been offered to me, but many of them, if not most of them, they originated from discussions from my manager, with my manager, with my peers, where we will identify a challenge or a good opportunity no one is working on, and I can step up and work on it. So earlier, in my career, I was offered a very challenging project to manage. And by the way, so every time when I started a new project, it all came with a very big unknown, new skills, new people, new area of expertise, so many new things. And of course, stress and uncomfort and even fear. So I was going through all these emotions all the time with every new project. And specifically, I still do remember that project. And this project was about managing software releases of one of the most complex products. And that was expected to be a temporary coverage, so I had to do this on the top of my day-to-day job. And so I had all the right to say no. But professionally, it was very interesting. I really wanted this job. But when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about that long list of excuses why I cannot do this job. I don't know anyone in the team. I don't know their process. We are 11 hours away, and et cetera, and et cetera, and et cetera. But I want this job. But here is the list. But I want the job. But here is the list. And after going in circles, I called my manager and said, okay, so here is the deal. I want this job. Here is the list of excuses why I cannot do this job, but I want this job. Now you tell me what to do. And she said, you know what? It needs to be your decision. Bye. So my first reaction was complete shock, right? Because I was expecting my manager to support me and tell me what to do. But then I realized that she was absolutely right. That needed to be my decision, and only my decision whether I wanted to take this challenge. So just instead of just staring at this list of excuses, I was started to think, so how I can take advantage of these challenges and how I can turn them into opportunities and how I can make it work. For example, 11 hours time difference, it's a gift. Because just first of all coordination meetings that we had, so we moved them to early morning US time so that we have reasonable overlap. And during my daytime, when US is sleeping and nothing happens, I have few hours, quiet hours, when I can do just summarize the status, run all these bug reports, and do everything I needed. Okay, I don't know anyone, so okay, I can just meet people and say hi. I don't know the process, but there are people who know the process. I can talk to them. There is some documentation. I can interview people. So, and at the end of the day, so that team was very thankful to me because I just finally documented their process, which they couldn't do for many years. So, and I went through all these excuses one by one, turned it into how I can make it work. And it ended up very well. So I did this assignment, and I still feel proud of one of the feedbacks that I've got, which was, she was the best ever release manager I ever had. And so I've got such a great professional experience out of this very difficult work that otherwise would have taken me years to develop. But what's the most important, I developed trust with that team and very good relationship with that team, which helps me even now, even after more than 10 years. So it turned out that all these barriers and excuses that I was listing down, they were actually all in my head. They were not real barriers. They were all in my head. Okay, but now, what if I fail? And failures and doing mistakes, so they're just a must. And especially when you're doing some new things which no one has did it before you. And negative experience, even stressful and many times frustrating, is the best learning experience. I have tons of good ideas all the time. And when I share my great ideas with my boss, many times, of course, I hear back, no, Marina, it's not a good idea. That's the best answer that I can get, because my immediate question is, tell me why. And this is when my boss will explain. So what I didn't take into account, what are the things I didn't know, what priorities I didn't set right. So he will open me the bigger context. So that's the best learning experience for me when I hear no from my manager. So at some point of my career, I managed the team which developed one of the most critical components in our products. And that component was in a very bad shape. So quality was bad, discipline was bad, no process, everything was bad, customers were frustrated, management was angry, and the team was visibly shaken by all the past failures. And my job was to rebuild the confidence inside and outside of the team. Okay, so we got together, we did the analysis, what customers want, what management want, so we created the vision, we defined the new architecture of the company, and so just build the plan, very nice plan, build the roadmap, everything is good. Everything looked good, and started working on it. And of course, things take time, so you cannot change things overnight. But of course, management wants results immediately. And once in 2 weeks, I was called into my boss's boss staff to present the status. And all the time, for a few months, everything that I was hearing, the only feedback that I was hearing was yelling and screaming, because management wanted fast results. Yelling and screaming, yelling and screaming. It was so stressful that at some point, I just reached the point and again, just called my manager and said, enough is enough. I'm not the right person to do this job. I don't see we're making progress because of all this yelling and screaming. And she said, how confident you are in your roadmap. I said, I am. So I'm confident in our roadmap. We are doing as best as we can. But once again, so this yelling and screaming, and she said, forget about it. So if you believe you're doing the right thing, just stay the course. And don't pay attention to all this negativity happening around. Okay, easy to say, but one of the most difficult things was when just stepping out of this all this yelling and screaming meetings, and my team approaching me and asking how it went. Of course, immediate reaction was to dump all this negativity back on my team, but that wouldn't help, right? Because I wanted the team to stay productive. On the other hand, I didn't want to lie to the team and tell them everything was perfect, we're doing great stuff, and etc. So what I did is just take a deep breath, and to be fair, out of this negativity, there were pieces of constructive advices and constructive feedback. And once again, just take a deep breath, just think about what was constructive out of the feedback and say, okay, so, okay guys, so there are great ideas we can start working on. So several months, very stressful and very difficult experience. But as of today, just thinking back, I'm very thankful to this experience because it taught me to be strong, to be able to put emotions aside, and to be able to find something constructive and positive in the most negative feedback. Okay, and that's my lesson number 3. So that value your negative experience. Do not waste time grieving, but instead focus on learning and doing. Okay, I think I am done. So just to summarize my lessons, be yourself, value negative experience, and take yourself at the next level. Make your first tangible step and keep progressing. Thank you.
Taking any questions at this moment?
For either myself or Marina, or indeed Astrid. So over the next steps, just keep your eye on women in big data, the social media links I gave there earlier, and we're going to be launching some technical training very soon. So just sign up to that, and we're around to have a chat afterwards. But you can expect to see the first event coming up in It probably won't be this side of Christmas, but certainly the first quarter of next year. Thanks a lot.